Hello everybody, welcome back to Jared Opens a Box here on Jared Takes the L, our last video here in the month of November, which is crazy. We only got one more month of the year, and it's going to be a really fun month as well. But before we get there, this is a very fitting last episode for the month because this is a video that I didn't think we'd ever be doing. Honestly, it's probably about, like I said last week, 11 years in the making. Last year, actually, around this time, I think it may have been in October, we did a video on Five Nights at Freddy's 2 U2's figures, which was the Withered animatronics, the puppet, and Mangle. And I remember making a comment at some point in the video that I didn't know, if Funko was ever going to get around to making the Withered animatronics. And it's kind of been a thing, over the years where people will say, oh, they're totally making them this time, or, it's rumored, it's leaked, whatever. Always talking about the Withered animatronics being a thing. And that really didn't seem to be the case up until now. We're finally taking a look at the Withered animatronic Funko Pop figures. They're finally here. Funko finally made them after all these years, and it's just in time, too, because the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie actually comes out next week. So I thought this was very fitting to do this before the movie. So yeah, let's just get right into this. I am so excited. Let's get started with our first one today, which is none other than Withered Freddy. Now, this one, Withered Freddy, of course, was on all of the merchandise. He was on the back of boxes. He was on the plushie tags. He was on every single piece of merchandise, yet he never actually got his own merchandise, which I thought was so weird, incredibly weird. But, we finally, he finally has his own piece of merch here. So this is Pop Games number 1086. There is the side of the box. Again, it has the usual Five Nights at Freddy's box for these guys. There's the rest of the ones we're looking at today. And of course, the one time Withered Freddy gets a pop, he's not even on the back of the box, which I think is really funny. And then there is the other side. Withered Freddy typically is the Withered animatronic with the least amount of damage, which is definitely noticeable with these figures. So here is Withered Freddy, and yeah, not too much different with this one compared to, the original Freddy. It looks like they definitely used, at least this part, like this top part, other than the mouth. The top part definitely looks like just one of their other Freddy figures. The mouth, I think like the snout part is a little bit bigger than the other ones, and he does have these big blocky teeth, which is, kind of looks a little goofy there, but, it's there. And then, of course, the rest of the figure, he does have some wires kind of poking out, some rips and tears in some different spots there. And he does have his microphone as well. And honestly, that's pretty much it for this one. Like I said, this was always going to be the one that had the least amount of detail, just because Withered Freddy isn't typically a very, difficult character to make. Oh, he does have buttons too, which the original Freddy does not have. So at least they were able to include that on this figure. But yeah, honestly, it looks pretty good. I think there's not really much else to say about this one, but they did a good job. All right, our next one, technically the only Withered animatronic to have actually received a pop figure before. It was a random exclusive back in like 2017 or something like that. But we have Withered Bonnie, probably the most popular of the Withered animatronics. He's been in a lot more media than all of the other ones typically. But this is Pop Games number 1083. So there is the side of the box, back of the box, and the other side. Let's go ahead and open this one up. All right. So here is Withered Bonnie, and this one came out looking really good as well. A couple of things I will point out. I think they did a much better job with this one compared to that other Walmart exclusive from years ago. For one, they actually gave him red eyes. The other one just had white eyes, in which, if you know Withered Bonnie, he has those little red, the eyes that are peeking out through the wiring and those skeleton parts, which they did try to replicate there. I mean, the face is going to be about the same, or lack of, I should say. This part's pretty much the exact same as that other figure, just with some more like withered details. Also, it seems to be a bit of a darker, a much darker blue, almost purple. The other one was definitely a lighter blue than this, but Bonnie's the color of Bonnie, the animatronic, is always like changing. It's either blue or purple or like a light blue, dark purple. Like it's always changing. So Funko is just as confused as us in that regard. Um, and they did try to change up his pose a little bit. Looks like he's kind of reaching out there, just like his jump scare in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 could be a reference to that. And then, of course, he does have some. At first it looked like this figure is really dirty, but that's actually just the wither. You probably can't really see it that well on camera, but they definitely made these figures look dirty, and that is intentional. At least I'm hoping it is, since they are, in a state of disrepair. And this one also has buttons too. Buttons and a bow tie. And of course, he's missing an arm over there as well. This one, honestly, much better than the original figure for sure. And it stands up a lot better too. The other one does not stand very well. This one definitely does. So really cool on that one. All right, our next one, of course, if we have Freddy and Bonnie, you're also going to have Withered Chica. So this is Pop Games number 1084. This is one I was also really, really curious to see. When these guys were first rumored for real, I was incredibly curious to see how they did this one. So here is the box for Withered Chica. And let's go ahead and see how they did. All right. Very, very interesting. So here is Withered Chica, and yeah, honestly, they didn't do a terrible job. They pretty much got this part right. It has those humongous eye sockets. She does have eyes. It's just kind of really hard to see, given the lighting here. But she does have eye sockets in there. They did, of course, give her the jaw that's been kind of disconnected there. You can see they have these parts right here, and then the endoskeleton mouth in there as well. I will say the face looks really rounded, which I didn't really think, or I guess the whole head, I should say, which I didn't think it was like that in the games, but maybe that was just the best they could do for this kind of figure. I know with like that jaw part, that would be a little bit difficult to do. And then, of course, they did get the pose down, with the two arms outstretched and the wires pouring out where the hands were. And again, a lot more rips, tears, and, the dirty, you can definitely see it on this one, kind of that dirty, coloration there, just to show that these guys have been around for quite a while in this state of disrepair. But this one honestly came out looking really, really good. I think they honestly nailed it. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I think they did a good job with this one. It looks very, very accurate. Like I said, the head shape, it does look a little goofy, but everything else is pretty good. And of course, she does have the bib there as well, and some really sharp toes. So yeah, Withered Chica, pretty cool. All right, moving on to our last of the Withered animatronics, but not the last pop of the video. We have Withered Foxy. Pop Games number 1085, and we do have some stuff to talk about with this one. We will get to that here in just a second, but here is the box and other side there. All right. So here is Withered Foxy. There's one big thing, I guess, to talk about with this one. It is that the colors are definitely off with this one. Withered Foxy, like the snout and the stomach. In this one, it's like this like burnt brownish color, when typically it's more of like, I mean, it's not nearly this dark. It's more of like I was supposed to say like a peach or something, like that. Well, it's not really like that, but if you were to compare this to a normal Foxy figure, you would definitely see that is definitely darker than it should be in that regard. And I think the reason why, truth be told, is that they were actually basing this off of Phantom Foxy's colors, because he does have that dark red brown coloration. So I'm wondering if maybe they accidentally got them mixed up, which means this would actually be more accurate of a Phantom Foxy figure than the one they actually made many years ago. So that's really funny. But in terms of this figure, in terms of the details and the design, is actually pretty accurate. They even have this part right here where, Foxy's fur is missing and the endoskeleton is just peeking out. He does have the eye patch that's flipped up right there. The eyes, they kind of made him look really sad. I don't know why they did that. That's not, not really something that he really does. The rest of the figure does look pretty good. He does have all the endoskeleton pieces and parts sticking out. And of course, in the back, you can see some of that as well. So really, the figure itself is really well detailed. It's just the colors are slightly off, and I just wonder if maybe they got some of the Foxies mixed up. And when there's at least 15 of them in the whole franchise, I guess that's bound to happen at some point. Um, but I do still think it looks really cool. I think it's still fairly accurate, minus the coloring, of course. I still think they did a good job with this one. And that brings us to our last figure. Of course, Withered Golden Freddy already exists. We reviewed him back in like February of this year, I think. So what did they do instead? Well, they had to do a fifth character, I guess, just to fill the quota. And they made another character that I didn't think we'd ever see from Funko because I didn't think they'd be able to pull it off. But sure enough, they pulled it off. We have Mangle. So this is Pop Games number 1087. I think that's very ironic, given the whole Bite of 87 theories. There is the side of the box, the back of the box, and the other side. This is a 6-inch Super Pop, not a Pop Premium or anything like that, since we gotta try to keep the, try not to get confused by all these different types now. All right. And hey, it's definitely a plus that this one did not break in the box like the U2's one did to me. So here is Mangle, and man, I tell you what, Funko honestly did a really good job with this one. I thought it was very fitting to put Mangle with the Withered animatronics, especially since all 5 of these guys are going to be in that movie next week, and will all have a pretty big role. First off, Funko, congratulations. I think you absolutely nailed this. I seriously am shocked that you guys were able to pull this one off. The face, the head, everything there is spot on. They got the colors perfect. They even have the endoskeleton mouth inside there. They got the other head right here, which even has a little Funko eye, which I think is funny, and the wires and everything. And then this whole mishmash of parts and everything, the 2 hands, a little tail right here. They got everything. They seriously did. They even got the toenail polish on every single foot. So it's like, just do this more often, Funko. Like, this is awesome. This is seriously such a good figure. They even have the bow tie, and like, there's seriously nothing wrong with this figure. It is so accurate. It's more accurate than U2's. I'm serious. This is probably the one time you're going to hear me say that. This one actually is more accurate than U2's version of the character. It looks so freaking good. So yeah, there is Mangle. It's so good. They did such a good job with this wave. 10 out of 10, honestly. I'm just so happy to see the Withered animatronics finally in the spotlight here with Funko, finally getting the pops. Of course, since they don't have the license to the figures and the plushies anymore, we weren't able to get those. But I know Jazzwares is making some for the Withered animatronics and stuff, so at least they will get something in that regard. But we finally got the pops. I think it's really cool. We finally got Mangle, which that's another one I was waiting on for a very long time. And yeah, this is awesome. They did such a good job with these guys. I have no complaints, really. But I'll go through them one more time here. Love to hear your thoughts on which one is your favorite. We have Withered Freddy. We have Withered Bonnie. We have Withered Chica. Withered Foxy. And Mangle. So let me know down below which of these are your favorites. And when we come back next week, month of December, we're going to be kicking things off with a couple of festive videos. Our first one next week is going to be taking a look at some new ad icons. So that's going to be really cool, fun little video to get us started for the month. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, guys. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.